Mr. President arrives, there is one heuristic moment which we do not know when Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič arrives, because he is now on his way from airport Šlekat to Bratislava. If he arrives during President's speech, he will go first. If he will not arrive during President's speech, we will start with the panelists, and Commissioner will address you as last. President Andrej Kiska is arriving.
Dámy a páni, dobré ráno. Dovolte mi sa poďakovať za túto príležitosť otvoriť túto konferenciu. Pozvanie som prijal pravda, že veľmi rád, pretože budete hovoriť o téme, ktorú ja zdôrazňujem prakticky na každom stretnutí so svojimi európskymi partnermi. Je to téma energií, energetickej bezpečnosti, diverzifikácie zdrojov energie. Je to téma, ktorá je dôležitá nielen pre posilnenie vnútorného trhu Európskej únie a jednotlivých členských krajín, ale aj ako nástroj, ktorým dokážeme bojovať proti a čeliť klimatickým zmenám. Rád by som ale začal trochu širšie. Totiž ďalším slovom, ktorý v poslednom čase často vyslovujem pri slove energia, je slovo solidarita. Solidarita je základom fungovania Európskej únie a aj schopnosti nás všetkých hľadať a dohodnúť spoločné riešenie. Solidarita ako princíp úspešného mierového európskeho projektu je ale v poslednom čase, v posledných rokoch pod veľkým tlakom. Migračná kríza, teroristické útoky v Paríži, rusko-ukrajinská kríza, ale aj problémy v eurozóne testujú našu schopnosť dokázať sa vôbec dohodnúť na spoločnom postupe. O potrebe solidarity hovorím aj preto, lebo bez nej nebude možné naplniť ani ciele ambiciózneho projektu energetickej únie, ktorý je hlavnou témou tejto konferencie. Cieľom energetickej únie, tak ako bol predstavený vo februári tohto roku Európskou komisiou, je zabezpečiť cenovo dostupnú, bezpečnú a udržateľnú energiu pre Európu a jej občanov. Pripomeňme si, prosím, že plynová kríza v roku 2009 spôsobená prerušením dodávok zemného plynu z Ruska cez Ukrajinu bola priamym ohrozením ekonomickej bezpečnosti Slovenska. Takmer 800 slovenských podnikov muselo na 2 týždne zastaviť výrobné aktivity, čo spôsobilo straty vo výške viac než 1 miliardy eur. A ak by kríza trvala dlhšie, jej ekonomické dopady mohli byť doslova dramatické. V krízovom čase sme vtedy veľmi ocenili solidaritu a podporu zo strany inštitúcií Európskej únie. Od plynovej krízy uplynulo 6 rokov a vďaka tejto podpore opatrenia vlády, rovnako ako aj opatrenia spoločnosti zabezpečujúcich dodávky aj tranzit plynu, je dnes Slovensko bezpečnejšou krajinou. Hovoriť o solidarite v súvislosti s energetickou bezpečnosťou je na mieste aj po vypuknutí vojny na Ukrajine.
Práve hrozba opätovného prerušenia dodávok zemného plynu po skúsenostiach spred 6 rokov bola bezprostredným motívom a základom pre projekt Európskej energetickej únie. A dôležitým prvkom tejto snahy bola aj pomoc Ukrajine. Spustením reverzného toku plynu Slovensko výrazne prispelo k zvýšeniu jej energetickej bezpečnosti. Pomohli sme tak skutočne veľkou mierou k naplneniu dohodnutých cieľov politiky Európskej únie vo vzťahu k Ukrajine. Práve preto nemôžeme v tejto súvislosti ignorovať skutočnosť, že ruská spoločnosť Gazprom v spolupráci so skupinou európskych firiem pripravuje realizáciu projektu Nord Stream 2, ktorý môže znamenať úplné zastavenie dodávok plynu z Ruska do Európy cez Ukrajinu a Slovensko. Viacerí naši partneri v EÚ argumentujú, že je to iba obchodný projekt súkromných spoločností a nemala by sa do toho miešať politika. Musím ale zdôrazniť, že tento postoj je v zásadnom rozpore so záujmom znižovať závislosť na ruskom plyne. Je v protiklade s našimi skúsenosťami, aké dramatické dôsledky môže mať zneužívanie dodávok plynu ako nástroja na dosahovanie politických cieľov. Je namierený priamo proti strategickému a dôležitému cieľu stabilizovať situáciu na Ukrajine a umožniť jej ďalší rozvoj. Pokiaľ skutočne budeme ochotní akceptovať, že Nord Stream 2 je iba súkromný biznis, potom žiaľ dávame za pravdu euroskeptikom, ktorí tvrdia, že celý projekt Európskej únie je iba Czech biznis. Očakávam a budem naďalej hľadať podporu partnerov, že v rámci Európskej únie nájdeme mechanizmy, ktoré predídu kvázi súkromným projektom, ktoré vo svojom dôsledku poškodzujú strategické záujmy členských krajín. Aj tento príklad ukazuje, že bez solidarity nebude možné naplniť nielen literu, ale ani hlavnú východiskovú myšlienku energetickej únie. Vážené dámy, vážení páni, prehlbenie jednotného trhu EÚ o trh s energetickými komoditami považujem za skutočne strategicky významný cieľ. Pomôže ekonomikám členských krajín, pomôže ich bezpečnosti. Ale mohol by zároveň posilniť aj našu politickú súdržnosť, ktorá pod vplyvom nedávnych kríz dostala viacero skutočne silných žierov. Som presvedčený, že projekt energetickej únie si zaslúži podporu zo strany vlád, ako aj verejnosti členských krajín. Znepokojujú ma preto hlasy, ktoré zaznievajú v našej domácej diskusii, že nebude možné dosiahnuť harmonizáciu regulačných politík z dôvodu rozdielnej štruktúry priemyslu a kúpyschopnosti obyvateľstva. Rovnako vás znepokojuje, že máme stále jednu z najvyšších cien elektriny v regióne, čo neprispieva k konkurencieschopnosti slovenských podnikov. Je prirodzené, že členské štáty si strážia národné regulačné politiky. Ale ak sa chceme pohnúť dopredu, musíme byť schopní myslieť dopredu a robiť správne strategické rozhodnutia. Oceňujem preto, že táto konferencia má na programe rokovanie o závažných otázkach v oblasti energetiky, ktoré sú kľúčové pre ďalší rozvoj Európskej únie i kvalitu života našich občanov. Želám vám všetkým
úspešné rokovanie a našim zahraničným hosťom prajem skutočne príjemný pobyt na našom tak krásnom Slovensku. Ďakujem veľmi pekne, prajem vám všetkým krásny.
Thanks very much.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne, pán prezident Slovenskej republiky, za vaše otvorené slova, jednoznačné slova na otvorení 9. ročníka Stredoeurópskej energetickej
by co-organizers of the event. And I would like to ask now, as a first speaker, Dušan Chreonek, who is well known in this country since he is representing European Commission here, and after him Alexander Duleba, director of Slovak Foreign Policy Association. Dušan, please.
Ďakujem za slovo. Excelencie, vážené dámy a páni, milí hostia. Dovolte mi privítať vás v mene zastúpenia Európskej komisie na Slovensku na konferencii o energetickej politike Európskej únie a energetickej bezpečnosti Strednej Európy. Na úvod chcem poďakovať našim spoluorganizátorom, Výskumnému centru Slovenskej spoločnosti pre zahraničnú politiku a Slovenskému plynárenskému a naftovému zväzu, ako aj ďalším partnerom za vynikajúcu spoluprácu pri príprave dnešnej a zajtrajšej konferencie. Osobitne chcem poďakovať podpredsedovi Európskej komisie Marošovi Šefčovičovi, ako aj ministrom hospodárstva, životného prostredia a zahraničných vecí a európskych záležitostí Slovenskej republiky za to,
Foreign Affairs for taking over the auspices over this event. The conference is organized, and this is actually the 9th year of the conference, and I am glad that during the course of this time it has been established as a key platform for discussing energy policy. The dimension of this conference is proven by the fact, by the program itself, by the agenda, and also high level of speakers and the participants. The goal of this conference is to contribute to finding most efficient solutions for the European energy policy with a special emphasis on V4 countries. Energetics is one of the main topics at both at the European and national level. Creating energy union is one of the priorities of the European Commission. Just last Thursday, the Vice President of the European Commission, Mr. Šefčovič, introduced the first progress report on the state of energy union. Not only he covered what has been achieved within this sector within the last year and this year, the report also contains the basic and the main information about what's ahead in this area. I'm really glad that Mr. Šefčovič has accepted our invitation, and he is going to inform you in more details about this report and its content. And now I would like to hand it over to Mr. Alexander Duleba, Director of Research Center of the Slovak Foreign Policy Association, who is the soul and actually the engine behind this whole conference. Ladies and gentlemen, let me wish you all the best and also have a fruitful course of the conference. Thank you very much. Very good morning to all of you. Vice President of the European Commission is on his way from the airport, so he will be joining us in any minute. This is just to explain why he's missing and why he's not sitting at the panel. It is a great privilege and honor for me to welcome you at the 9th year of this conference. This is a big moment, not only for me personally, but for my whole team that has been preparing this conference for 2 months. I want to extend my big gratitude and thanks to all that have participated in the organization and also to all of you for coming. I'm glad that we managed to build up the program. We will discuss 12 key topics dealing with energy policy, up-to-date topics that are either subject of political planning or political decision-making, including research. We do have 90 speakers, 90 prominent experts, representatives of private corporations, ministries, experts focusing and dealing with energy as researchers and scientists, and more than 305 participants have registered for our conference. Just one philosophical issue behind this conference, and it has been already mentioned by Mr. Chreonek. We do want these discussions to contribute to carving better solutions for European energy policy. But at the same time, we want this conference to be really useful. So when somebody comes to this conference and participates and goes through the agenda, through the program for this 1.5 days, that he or she gets the top quality, high quality of information on decision-making, planning and research in energy sector. This is our main goal. And as I'm looking in the at you in the auditorium, I'm absolutely sure that we will fulfill and meet this goal. So once again, thank you for coming and really have a fruitful course of this conference and take the most out of it. Thank you.
The interpreter wishes to apologize. There's no signal from the microphone. The interpreter's booth apologizes. No signal from the microphone.
Thank you very much, Dušan and Alexander Duleba, for official opening of 9th conference on energy in Central Europe. And now let me go directly to first panel, which will be dedicated to Energy Union, Headway, and the Visegrad 4 perspective. Since Maroš Šefčovič is not here, as I indicated, we will start first according our list on the panel, and Maroš Šefčovič will be then last speaker when he will introduce the topic announced already by Dušan Chreonek. Visegrad 4 perspective will not be represented by Poland because Poles are still working on putting together government. We wish them good luck with this, and Slovakia has government, Hungary has government, Czechs have governments, and we have 3 energy people from the 3 Visegrad countries at this panel who are waking up and going to bed daily thinking about energy. State Secretary of the Ministry of Economy of Slovakia, Rastislav Chovanec, Minister of State for Energy, Ministry of National Development of Hungary, Mr. András Aradszki, and Lenka Kovačovská, who is Acting Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry of Czech Republic. I would like to ask as first speaker Mr. Rastislav Chovanec. Whatever works for you. You can speak here or you can speak here.
Vážený
dear guests, dear ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to open with a slight modification of the words by our moderator. Within the Ministry of Economy, we have one state secretary that deals with energy directly, as Mr. Onbert, but because of his business trip in foreign countries, he could not participate in today's conference. That's why I'm replacing him. But tomorrow, as far as my information goes, he'll be speaking in one of the panels, so I'm sure you won't miss him. To open this, I'd like to thank the organizers for preparation of this very significant conference, and also for providing a great number of high-level or top-level guests and experts, because as we all realize, the topic of building energy union is a timely topic, it's a burning issue, and we need to exchange experience on a regular basis. I'd like to point out and emphasize for the beginning that the energy sector and energy security are, taking into account the current geopolitical situation, very important parameters of national security, and they represent a strong, significant priority in the Europe-wide context. Well-functioning energy sector is a condition sine qua non for a successful economy of every single country. A strategic objective of energy policy of the Slovak Republic is to achieve competitive, low-carbon economy, providing safe, secure, reliable and efficient supply of all forms of energy at affordable, acceptable prices, if you like, with emphasis on protection of the consumer and sustainable development. Therefore, I appreciate that energy security has become one of the pillars of European Union. Together with other dimensions of energy union, these are very important areas of energy policy that need to be further developed. From our perspective, when building energy union, we need a balanced approach to all above-mentioned areas, whether it's security, competitiveness or sustainability. Essential criteria when evaluating new measures should be real added value in the context of the goals that we have set. Proposals will also have to be evaluated when it comes to their impact on the price of energy and the costs that have significant impact on the purchasing power of our population and competitiveness of our economy. Development in energy prices in the Slovak context and the V4 context still remains a very sensitive topic. Energy union should be based on the principle of subsidiarity and technological neutrality. Member states need the possibility to define their energy mix in line with the national conditions that will enable cost-effective solutions. Regional cooperation and potential to contribute to energy security and in cross-border especially is very essential, especially in cross-border projects. Therefore, Slovakia very much appreciates cooperation with its V4 partners. Taking into account the fact that energy security is still primarily the national responsibility, there is a number of questions related to transfer of rights to the regional or Europe-wide level. For example, when it comes to the need to strengthen the rights of the Agency for Cooperation of Regulatory Offices, ACER, in the sphere of energy. In relation to increasing of energy security, we need to repeatedly emphasize inevitability, an essential character of building infrastructural interconnections in economy, and the need to provide for full diversification of energy sources and transmission routes, which are essential precondition for functioning European energy market. This exactly is the area where the regional cooperation is very fruitful and almost of essential, vital importance. A building of the north-south energy corridor is of basic importance, where in electric power and oil and gas transmission will lead to building of essential infrastructure. Including a strategic infrastructural objective of Slovak Republic and V4 within this corridor into the list of common interest projects within the EU is regarded as success of our negotiations at the European level. Along with the early implementation of the common interest projects, another perspective project is Eastring. Eastring is a two-direction gas pipeline, while respecting the rights of the EU and low costs, could link the markets of South-East Europe with the North-West markets in Europe and enable access to new sources of natural gas. I believe that taking into account to the fact that Eastring can have essential contribution to security of gas supplies in the more vulnerable European regions, and at the same time could significantly contribute to unification of the markets, it deserves attention and support of the European Union.
The strategic interest of Slovakia and also of V4 countries and EU is the maintenance of existing transition route from through Ukraine to western part of Europe. It's very important that the new projects respect this priority. The reverse flow, allowing for a flow of gas into Ukraine, is, in my opinion, an important a step in line with the principle of solidarity and also enhancing the safety and security of our region. Another priority is using nuclear power energy that contributes to decreasing emissions and increasing the energy safety, as well as in other EU countries. It is an important part of energy mix and will be one of the main contributing factors for achieving the climate goals. A common EU policy should therefore apply such principles that won't have a negative impact on using this low-carbon resource, and that will contribute to creating stable investment framework for safe operation of EU energy market. Up-to-date and current topics in the EU energy policy is the new framework that for this policy that will be subject of the negotiations of Council of Europe at the in November 26. There are different opinions on this subject, and V4 countries under the leadership of the Czech presidency managed to promote common principles in creating complex national goals and plans. Within V4 country, we have agreed that the management system should fulfill the climate and energy policy goals, should lower the admin burden, should respect the right of member states define their own energy mix and decide about the suitable technologies when using their energy potential. When it comes to the Slovak presidency in the European Council, the energy policy and energy issues will be one of the priority issues. Our goal is to focus on providing for synergy among different dimensions of energy union and provide for a coherent approach to individual segments of the policy. The implementation should be consistent and should support the development of national economies. Therefore, we need debate. Therefore, I am very glad that today's conference will focus on those core topics and where we can look for joint solutions and positions as within V4 region, but also for EU. I believe that this conference will have a significant impact on our future cooperation, and the result of this conference will be adopting a joint approach to most of the core issues in energy. Ďakujem.
Mr. Chovanec, and the second speaker is Mr. András Aradszki from Budapest.
Dobrý den. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it is a great pleasure to be here and taking part at the Central European Energy Conference. I would take the opportunity to welcome the new steps towards the realization of the Energy Union projects, such as the publication of the summer package and the ongoing design of the winter package. We can all agree that the secure of energy supply for the future generations of Europe is one of the main goals of the European energy policy. The primary tool for that is the Energy Union strategy. Now we are entering the implementation phase with that strategy. The primary goals which shall be taken into account by implementation of the Energy Union strategy are security of energy supply and affordability of the energy prices. These objectives must be implemented together and parallelly. Proper solutions shall be established to maintain the competitiveness of European companies and to overcome the insufficient supply of energy. To reach the above objectives, the main prerequisite in the Central Eastern European region is to step up necessary energy infrastructure, which ensures the interconnectivity, diversification, and competitiveness of the external gas supply sources. When implementing energy union strategy, the existing regional and country-specific differences shall be considered. All implementing measures should respect the right of the member states to determine their own energy mix. We agree that the innovation of the environment-friendly energy technologies and the distribution of their application are very important competitiveness and energy policy issues. In our opinion, the governance of the energy union should be based on the existing regional cooperation method with full respect the sovereignty of the member states. Now, let me speak about our energy union initiative in light of the V4 cooperation, the main topic of this panel. Hungary has a great history with the Visegrad countries. History, tradition, economy and policy making connect us for decades. The V4 cooperation is in line with the energy union strategy as well as with its conclusions with regards to the reinforcement of the regional cooperation. The Czech Republic took over the presidency when the implementation of the energy union has started in a very challenging, thus an exciting time for all Visegrad 4 countries. Therefore, we are working together to reach common goals identified earlier this year. First of all, I would like to talk about the important aspects of the pillars of the V4 regional cooperation. Strengthening of regional cooperation, particularly with the V4 partners, is highly important. Cooperation based on the solidarity and infrastructure development helps to ensure price stability, enhance price competition and the diversification of the energy routes and sources, altogether the security of the energy supply. The real success of the Visegrad 4 countries has been the added value in the development and enhancement of the union-level energy infrastructure planning and common regulatory initiatives that are keys to implementation of the EU's internal energy market legislation. Here, let me please mention the commonly achieved the new success of the region regarding the publication of the new list of the European projects of common interest. The new list contains several important infrastructure projects which realization can guarantee the security of the gas supply of our region in the future. The newly adopted list of PCI projects reflects the interests of Central Europe as well as the Visegrad 4 countries. Furthermore, it creates the possibility for large-scale gas supply opportunities such as the Nord Stream. By learning the lessons of either year's gas crisis, we 4 countries decided to find ways to create a diversified portfolio of gas import possibilities and to make a paradigm change in the existing east-west energy corridors. The establishment of the north-south gas corridor connecting the gas system of the countries from the Baltic Sea to Adriatic Sea includes Sieniuszcze energy terminal in Poland and the proposed energy terminal on the Croatian island of Krk. Between Hungary and Slovakia, we already accomplished the important element of the corridor. The Hungarian Slovakian gas interconnector started its commercial operation in July. We are also strongly participating in establishing reverse flow on the Hungarian-Croatian gas interconnector and the Croatian LNG terminal. Besides the necessary pipeline development, I would like to emphasize the potential that lays in the significant and available Hungarian underground storage capacity for either commercial or strategic reasons in the region. Regional approach stretches even further. I would like to mention the Sofia process, where Hungary with Slovakia from weak countries are looking into possibilities to find infrastructure solutions for vulnerability of gas supply in Central and Southeastern European countries. Now let me please inform you briefly about the achievements of Hungary in light of the Energy Union goals. Hungary already performs well on certain elements of the 5 dimensions of Energy Union. In case of electricity, our country already fulfills the 10% interconnection target of 2020. As built, the interconnectivity already reaches the 50% with our neighborhoods. Hungary is also track to fulfill its 2020 greenhouse gas energy efficiency and renewable energy targets. Hungary is above the EU average in terms of allocated public support for research and development in the field of the energy and environment. We hope that the Energy Union strategy will provide the following potential benefits for Hungary and for the V4 countries as well. In the energy security, the Energy Union could help to reduce the dependence on the single external gas supplier by diversification of gas supply sources and routes. Diversification will also enhance competition and have beneficial impact on energy prices in order to provide affordable energy for households and companies. The targeted use of union financed sources and funds will increase energy efficiency, especially in the buildings and transport sectors, as also will ease the challenge related to energy infrastructure modernization. But all of the mentioned benefits can be reached by regional common solutions to create infrastructure and market conditions, to remove barriers from access to networks and markets. Ladies and gentlemen, an essential part of the V4 countries cooperation is the continuation of the work of the previous presidency. It is important to continue the work of the V4 Gas Forum, the V4 Energy Forum, and the V4 Energy Council coordination meetings, as well as developing the V4 energy companies. This is the main message that I wanted to share with you, and I thank to you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aradszki, and now I would like to give the floor to Lenka Kovačovská from Prague.
Slyšíte mě?
Jo.
Tak jo. Já jsem se totiž to předtím úspěšně vypla. Vážení kolegové státní tajemníci, vážené dámy, vážení pánové, je mi velkou ctí, že můžu tady na 9. ročníku Central European Energy Conference vystoupit jménem pražského ministerstva průmyslu a obchodu, byť jsem původně z Nitry. A vzhledem k tomu, že tolik vás mluví slovensky, tak se přiznám, že asi dneska budu mít trošku federálnější projev, než mívám obyčejně. Co se týče konference, já ji vnímám jako hodně podnětnou, je zajímavá a je to jedna z nejkvalitnějších konferencí v našem regionu, která se věnuje právě problematice energetiky, v současnosti energetické unie, a proto jsme Česká republika jako v současné době předsedající země Visegrádské skupiny rádi poskytli záštitu celé konference. Já se omlouvám, že nestojím, není to neúcta vůči k vám, ale já jsem zjistila, že speakerské pultíky nejsou zrovna stavěné pro lidi, kteří mají méně než 1,60 m, takže byste mě asi tam neviděli. Co se týče hlavního tématu dnešní konference, energetické unie, jejího významu pro Evropu, region a především pro Visegrádskou čtyřku, je to doopravdy to, jak můj předřečník pan Aradszki řekl, hodně vzrušující čas plný výzev. Česká republika má tu čest, že zrovna předsedá Visegrádské čtyřce a myslím si, že jsme hodně populární v Evropské unii díky všem těm vyjednáváním a obhajování našim společným pozic. Nicméně musím říct, že ta spolupráce je hodně dobrá. Když jsem tak poslouchala, co moji předřečníci povídali, tak si myslím, že bychom mohli jako ministerstva hodně ušetřit, kdyby vždycky napsali ten projev společně a mohli bychom použít naše ostatní podřízené na nějakou jinou práci. Co bych dneska ráda tady řekla, je to, co byl požadavek vlastně organizátorů, nějaká komprimovaná představa toho, co je energetická unie podle České republiky, co jsou priority České republiky v rámci energetické unie a celého toho velkého balíčku aktivit, které v současné době se rozbíhají. A poslední věc, trochu bych se ráda už věnovala i zprávě o stavu energetické unie, kterou pan místopředseda Evropské komise za chvíli, jestli dorazí včas, představí. Česká republika už během vyjednávání klimaticko-energetické politiky a jejího rámce do roku 2030 v průběhu celého roku 2013 až 2014 zdůrazňovala, že při stanovení ambiciózních cílů si musíme taky dohodnout pravidla, jakými budou tyto cíle naplňovány. Celou dobu nám v debatě o energetické unii a hlavně klimaticko-energetické politiky chyběla vyváženost a chyběly některé klíčové témata. Za nás nejdůležitější byly energetická bezpečnost, dokončení vnitřního trhu a konkurenceschopnost ekonomik jednotlivých členských států. A právě představení energetické unie ten přístup změnilo. Z pohledu České republiky, pokud má být energetická unie úspěšným a především prospěšným projektem v rámci evropské integrace, tak musí nekompromisně, průběžně respektovat vyvážený rozvoj všech svých pilířů. Jak již slovenský předřečník říkal, ve čtvrtek se bude v Bruselu konat Rada pro energetiku a v rámci ní budou přijaty k závěry k systému řízení energetické unie, takzvaný governance. Tady bych hodně ráda ocenila, že se jedná o kompromisní text i díky velmi kvalitní spolupráci zemí Visegrádské skupiny a ostatních like-minded zemí, které se zaměřují na prioritu energetické unie ve všech jejich 5 pilířích a tím poskytuje záruku dostatečné flexibility pro jednotlivé členské státy. Stěžejním prvkem energetické unie v rámci systému řízení budou dle nás národní klimaticko-energetické plány. Proč je důležité, aby byly národní plány plně v rukou členských států a aby jejich prostřednictvím došlo k reálnému snížení administrativní zátěže, především v oblastech plánování a reportingu. Při tvorbě národních plánů vidí Česká republika 3 základní výzvy. Dostatečný čas na jejich přípravu, pokud má být legislativa hotová na konci roku 2017 nebo v prvním kvartálu 2018, nevidíme žádný význam a přidanou hodnotu, abychom měli plány hotové již na konci roku 2017. Kvalitu dat, a nejenom kvalitu, ale taky jejich komplementaritu v oblasti klimatu a energetiky a taky stanovení základních indikátorů, podle kterých se bude vývoj v členských státech mapovat, ale nikoliv jenom pro dosahování klimaticko-energetických cílů, ale taky pro energetickou bezpečnost a konkurenceschopnost. Jedině tak lze zajistit, že národní plány budou dostatečně reflektovat jednotlivá národní specifika. Česká republika může nabídnout čerstvou zkušenost s tvorbou státní energetické koncepce při využití dostatečného metodologického základu a bude se i nadále aktivně podílet na tvorbě vodítek v přípravě národních plánů. Mimochodem, předpokládám, že pan místopředseda komise dneska představí, protože přímo sdělení k naplňování energetické unie už první draft guidelines obsahuje. Dalším velmi vítaným dílkem do projektu energetické unie se pro Českou republiku stal tzv. Letní energetický balíček, který se kromě reformy systému obchodování s emisními povolenkami EU ETS a nařízení o energetickém štítkování věnoval také otázku designu trhu s elektrickou energií. ČR dlouhodobě podporuje integraci trhu s elektřinou, a to na denní, vnitrodenní i vyrovnávací úrovni. A byla to právě Česká republika společně se Slovenskem, které v roce 2009 propojily své denní trhy. V roce 2012 se k nám přidala Maďarská republika a od roku 2014 také Rumunsko. Budoucnost tohoto dobře fungujícího projektu, takzvaného Foreign Market Coupling, vidíme v integraci z trhu regionu západní Evropy, aby byla odstraněna poslední bariéra v rámci propojených denních trhů v rámci Evropské unie. Proč je z výše uvedených důvodů design trhu s elektrickou energií prioritou? V této oblasti se snažíme aktivně rozvíjet regionální spolupráci, a to jednak se zeměmi střední Evropy a v rámci spolupráce ve Visegrádské skupině, ale taky se zeměmi západní Evropy prostřednictvím tzv. Platformy Electricity Neighbors, která je hodně koordinována kolem Německa, zemí pentalaterálního fóra Rakouska. Co se týče budoucí podoby trhu s elektřinou, Česká republika je názoru, že potřebnou výši a strukturu instalovaného výkonu pro zabezpečení dodávek konečným zákazníkům by v první řadě měly zabezpečit tržní signály. Proto je důležité odstranit a nově nezavádět provozní dotace pro jednotlivé zdroje a zároveň by měly být na trhu umožněny cenové špičky. Pro integraci samovýroby, tzv. prosumers a obnovitelných zdrojů bude důležité posílit flexibilitu systému, mimo jiné prostřednictvím přenesení cenových špiček ke konečným zákazníkům, pokud o to projeví zájem. Nicméně všechny druhy flexibility rozvíjené na trhu musí být nasazovány v rámci tržních mechanismů a nesmí být jejich náklady socializovány. Energetická chudoba by měla být adresována primárně prostřednictvím cílené sociální politiky a ne prostřednictvím existence regulovaných sociálních tarifů. V tomto aspektu se Česká republika plně shoduje s Evropskou komisí. Důležitá bude kromě spolupráce členských států i větší spolupráce provozovatelů přenosových soustav a distribučních soustav tak, aby byla zajištěna bezpečnost sítě na všech úrovních, ve všech okamžicích. Posledním elementem z energetické unie, kterého bych se ráda dotkla, je energetická bezpečnost. Proč je důležitá diverzifikace zdrojů a přepravných tras energetických surovin? A jsem proto ráda, že přibližně před 3 týdny byl schválen druhý seznam projektů společného zájmu, které mají rozvíjet propojení mezi členskými zeměmi a energetickou infrastrukturou v Evropské unii obecně. Právě dostatečné propojení energetické infrastruktury může znatelně přispět ke zvýšení energetické bezpečnosti našeho regionu, ať už se jedná o propojení se západními trhy s plynem nebo dlouho zdůrazňované severo-jižní propojení. ČR bude taktéž velmi pečlivě sledovat zveřejnění tzv. Zimního balíčku. Obávám se, že to bude ještě za našeho předsednictví, takže si to užijeme, který by měl být dle informací Evropské komise zaměřen právě na bezpečnost zemního plynu a specificky strategii pro skapalněný zemní plyn. Závěrem bych se ráda vyjádřila ke zprávě o stavu energetické unie. Zde bych se ráda poděkovala Evropské komisi a ještě nepřítomnému místopředsedovi Marošovi Šefčovičovi, který za chvíli představí. Nicméně já jsem s ní strávila hodně hezký víkend. To je to, když někdy státní tajemníci vstávají a usínají s energetikou. Po přečtení je více než jasné, že před Evropskou unii se v oblasti klimatické a energetické politiky v současné době nacházejí komplexní výzvy. Česká republika dlouhodobě vnímá roli Evropské komise především jako mediátora v procesu vytváření energetické unie. Jak už jsem ale uvedla, její faktická implementace bude na bedrech jednotlivých členských států a proto je pro nás naprosto zásadní flexibilita. Podle mého názoru by proto i budoucí zprávy o energetické unii měly v první řadě přinést všem aktérům jasné a pravdivé informace o dosaženém pokroku v jednotlivých členských státech i Evropské unii jako celku. Česká republika je proto nadále připravena velmi úzce spolupracovat s Evropskou komisí, regionálními partnery i všemi aktéři, na kterých rozvoj energetické unie závisí. Děkuji vám za pozornost.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kovačovská. It is another example. You stressed, and I didn't know you are from Slovakia as well, that how Czechs and Slovaks cooperate so closely because Slovaks have people at strategic places, at Ministry of Finance. Now I learned that Ministry of Economy, and Mayor of Prague is also from Slovakia. So I think that this is another example why Visegrad cooperates so well. Now, as a moderator, I have tough job now because I'm constantly getting update where Maroš Šefčovič is located. So good news is that Maroš Šefčovič is on his way, and according security people, he should be here at 10:30. Which is good news, but now we will need to improvise a bit in order to get Maroš Šefčovič enough place because we have time till 11:30, so we will get his performance, but we will see how we go, whether we will break it by coffee before Maroš Šefčovič comes or not. It will depend on you, how you will be active in Q&A. If we will see that we will do coffee break and then Maroš Šefčovič comes and he will deliver his keynote on Energy Union, we could go that way. Would this work for the energy community in this room? Okay, so if nobody
from the perspective
ministerstva je projekt Nord Stream nesystémové riešenie.
not a systemic solution, as it has been said by the President of the Slovak Republic, and we fully support his statement. The European Union should have bigger interest and stronger interest in achieving political agreement on such an important project, and for us it is much more, it's much bigger priority. East Stream, we are trying to implement it. It will be much more interesting from our perspective, from the economic perspective, but at the same time, it would definitely mean bigger security for Ukraine, because the conflict may be unfolding in Ukraine for a pretty long time. So Nord Stream is really not supported by our country, by our ministry, and we don't view it as a conceptual project.
No, so we will do it now in Hungarian.
Yes, I try to in English better. Yes, I think that I would like to emphasize
I almost switched to English. When it comes to the position of the Czech Republic has always, for a very long time, has supported sustainable usage of the existing transmission corridors that are. So, maintaining the operation of the Ukrainian infrastructure, of course, with modernization of the appropriate infrastructure. As I've mentioned, it is of key importance to diversify the routes, but also it is important for us to diversify the sources. Therefore, the gas pipelines that are newly constructed are very important for us, the new gas pipelines, because they bring new gas into Europe. When it comes to Nord Stream 2, as we call it, we perceive it as a commercial project of which we're not sure if it's going to be implemented at all, because if you realize, for the last 12 months, there have been so many gas pipelines on the table, commercial profitability of which was disproved in the end. So from our perspective, it's very important, if this is going to be implemented so that it fully respects total European legislation, including the third-party legislation, and as long as it is implemented and the legislation is complied with, this to a great degree may reduce the attractiveness of the commercial viability of the whole project. So the Czech Republic supports existing transmission of gas through Ukraine and through Slovak Republic. The economic logic of this project is quite essential, and in case Nord Stream 2, 3 or 4 is built, it must respect all EU legislation. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Filip Urban from Association for Renewable Resources. You state officials are talking about production and provision of security of supply of energy into the V4 countries. I'd like to ask you how you want to provide for energy security from the position of energy efficiency. I know that each of these of your countries have different systems. Could you describe the system, how to provide for energy efficiency? That means reduction of consumption of energy, reducing of energy consumption of respective sources of energy in your countries. Thank you very much.
Such way, in which way the industry will work on to reduce the energy demand on the industrial way, on the industrial side. My personal experience and the statistics shows that the Hungarian industry, Hungarian players of the market worked well in the past. They done very good because if we see the gas consumption in Hungary from 2008 until 2014, the gas demand decreased with 40% from during this period. And so I think we are on a common basis. We would like to accept and introduce the European requirement in line with the local acts.
Česká republika rovněž ve státní energetické koncepci, kterou jsme schválili letos v květnu, má energetické úspory, posilování energetické účinnosti jako jedno z 5 klíčových pilířů. Co se týče samotné podpory energetické účinnosti, tam jenom do roku 2020 má Česká republika připravený Národní akční plán energetické účinnosti, který počítá s tím, že ze státních prostředků z fondů i z Evropské unie bude na energetickou účinnost vyčleněno zhruba 90 miliard českých korun. Něco přes 3 miliardy euro. Takže jsou to cílené projekty, je to podpora EPC a ESCO firem na úrovni municipalit a public partnership agreements. Co se týče vůbec energetické účinnosti, tam předpokládáme, že to bude jeden z klíčových zdrojů pro naši energetickou budoucnost, protože v rámci státní energetické koncepce, když to teď vemu třeba jakoby predikce vývoje spotřeby elektrické energie dlouhodobá, do roku 2040 předpokládáme, že Česká republika bude kryt veškerý svůj další hospodářský růst, zvyšování úrovně kvality života obyvatel a taky vlastně fuel switching, kdy elektrická energie bude přebírat roli jiných více fosilních paliv, že se bude všechno kryt právě na úrovni energetických úspor, zvyšování energetické účinnosti. To znamená, předpokládáme stabilizaci spotřeby elektrické energie dlouhodobě, to znamená jednoznačný decoupling mezi hospodářským růstem a mezi růstem spotřeby elektrické energie. Co se týče spotřeby energií v dopravě, taky předpokládáme postupný trend přechodu na...
We also expect gradual transformation to reduction of fossil fuels, increasing of energy efficiency of automobiles. We've even prepared a document titled White Book on Energy Efficiency in Transportation. And we also prepared a great number of support programs. We support increasing of energy efficiency, and these are targeted state subsidies to increase energy efficiency of all of the above mentioned areas.
Energetická efektívnosť je jedna z
energy efficiency is one of the priorities, not only of Slovakia, but also of neighboring countries. It's a very important topic. That's why we are going to cover it tomorrow in more details. I just need to follow what my colleagues have said, and we feel a room for improvement in increasing the energy efficiency of buildings, be it cooling or heating. Slovakia will earmark funds within Euro funds, but of course respecting cost efficiency. Our target will be to decrease the energy consumption of buildings. And the second big area or room for improvement exists in transportation. Thank you.
Like to raise question or make comment? So, if it is not the case, over Sasha.
So I would like to use this opportunity having representatives of 3 governments on the table, and would like to ask you to elaborate on your national perspectives on 2 key projects when it comes to the energy union from point of the Central European perspective. I mean the agreement between the Prime Minister who agreed, Prime Minister of the V4 countries who agreed in 2013 the roadmap towards the creation of the regional gas market. What's your evaluation? How things, where are we with this project? And finally, the second question goes to the electricity market coupling, which is a quite successful project going, I mean, with the participation of the Czech Republic, Slovak Republic, Hungary and Romania. But we do not have Poland on the board. So what, from your perspective, are the main challenges we have to address on sort of the regional cooperation in order to move forward with both projects? Thank you.
Omlouvám se, mě ta angličtina tam nějak moc skáče. Co se týče...
When it comes to integration of electrical markets or market coupling, well, it's crucial that our region connects with multi-regional coupling with the rest of Europe. So our region gets connected to the rest of Europe. I participated in Directors General for electricity, and everybody was really happy and patting themselves and really praising that, yes, we have single market, but the Czech Republic, Hungary and Slovakia are the ones who are not still coupled. Poland doesn't have robust enough infrastructure, and it is also on the top of that it is connected to the North Europe through water cables. So our goal is to get as fast connection to multi-regional coupling as possible. It is possible. We need to through NTC method. In the second half of next year, we are pushing for this process, especially in this area. However, it is not easy. Some member states are not open to it all that much. Some of our neighbors would rather appreciate full base allocation capacity of our countries rather than this this coupling, and we have network connectivities, and our priority is to eliminate this last obstacle or iron wall, and we as the Czech Republic do as much as possible in order to achieve the coupling of the whole region with the rest of Europe and day-ahead market. When it comes to day-ahead market, the processes will continue. And when it comes to integration of markets with natural gas, last week there was a negotiation of V4 countries in Prague, where we discussed also the issue of integration of market with natural gas. This is not only a question for the ministries, they can only provide their political support to this and allow the negotiations. It is up to the regulators, national regulators, and for the transportation networks, our regulatory body presented a certain roadmap that could potentially lead to integration of market. It is vital to agree on fees, have compatible legislations and regulations, and then maybe to do some minor changes. The target was 2019, the end of 2019, and that's our regulatory body. The end of 2019 could be potential target for coupling, for achieving the coupling of our market. So this is the opportunity, a big opportunity for increasing the benefits for consumers and integration with Austria, because the legislation and the regulations within our markets and the Austrian market is rather compatible. So we believe that this is one of the opportunities that could lead to relatively fast integration that would bring about consumers' benefits primarily.
Neviem na túto otázku príliš zareagovať, pretože je to veľmi odborne položená téma vzhľadom na tie oblasti, ktoré pokrývam ja, ale myslím si, že kolega štátny tajomník Obert to zajtra určite odpovie.
Okay, Mr. Aradszki.
In my presentation, that it is a prerequisite issue, the affordable and good size infrastructure of the gas market. And now in the gas corridors and the gas interconnectivity, Hungary is in a very good position. We have interconnectors all our neighbor countries apart from Slovenia, but the interconnectors with Slovenia is among the PCR list. But one question mark we have. This is the diversification I mentioned. This is the diversification of the infrastructure. But the question mark is that at the end of these infrastructure there is no third source origin gas. We receive all elements of our infrastructure, the Russian gas, which is good for us in the stability aspects and about the Ukrainian gas crisis, but it is not the territory, not the field of the price competition of gas. And the other very problematic issue is that the interconnectivity is not operate with Croatia and with Romania. The reverse flow from Croatia and Romania is not existing. And so we have infrastructure in Hungary, especially in Hungary, but we don't have a competitive situation in the gas market. And about the market coupling of the electricity, Lenka rozprávala všetko. And so I couldn't add to this information more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Mikhail Gonchar. I am from Ukraine, Strategy 21. We are witnesses concrete real solidarity in the framework of Visegrad Fund, Visegrad Group plus Ukraine concerning Nord Stream 2 project. It's good. But of course, I prepared my question, first of all, for Mr. Maroš Šefčovič, but it's very interesting to know your expert position concerning concrete steps, not only concrete position or estimations from national level against Nord Stream 2. But hypothetically, what we can do together in the case of realization negative scenario, when many objections exist from the level of European Commission, from the levels of national governments of Visegrad 4 and other countries, but Gazprom, together with a group of European companies, will continue realization of this project and will ignore our joint position. What are concrete steps are possible from your point of view? Thank you.
I like your question, but we will see how panelists will handle it now. So let's project power of Visegrad 4.
I am a good position. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I am a lawyer.
Okay.
My original job is a lawyer. And the message from the Visegrad 4 countries with a different voice, but the one target. Lenka told that using the current existing routes is very important. I mentioned that the pricing issue, it is a commercial issue, that using the route via Ukraine is the more affordable and the cheapest solution. And this is a political statement. It is a political approach. But regarding that, the Nord Stream 2nd or 3rd or 4th is a investment of the private companies. And it will be in line with the EU requirement, the 3rd energy package. And it is a big issue, big question mark. How is able to find the EU Commission, mainly the EU Commission, the legal way of regarding to stop these investment. I think it is not enough to state something in politically, but the real solution is on the legal basis.
Fine. When you said you are a lawyer, I thought that I will wait for Maroš Šefčovič to answer the question. But Lenka will have some tough Czech position on this, I think.
I'm in a tricky situation because I'm not a lawyer. And, well, frankly speaking, it is a commercial project in the end. And what tools we have is to fully comply, to push on the participants, on the equity holders of the project to respect EU laws and third-party access. If they really do respect it, then the economic viability of the project is really questionable. And currently, with all the projects that are in the pipelines, or the projects for pipelines for Russian exports are so numerous and so huge, not only to Europe, different ways, but also to Asia, that they will have to get a capital. And if it's going to be capital from the banks, which definitely from the annual incomes of Gazprom and the energy companies taking part in the project, you see that they cannot do it basically from their cash flow. They have to get banking guarantees, and then the banks are going to question what is the rentability of project based on the capacities. So basically this is going to be the best tool. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm still an economist and a liberal person. So I think that sometimes the business and economy and market solve the solution for us.
Mr. Chovanec?
I think we have to take every opportunity to show that this project is not in line with what we expect and what we would like to happen. The concrete measures based on the lawyers and maybe other initiatives can have maybe a long-term or can be a long-term solution. I think that we have to start working also on a political level and start explaining our position, why we don't agree or why we don't think that this is a good project. I have an information that we are going to prepare a common letter with another V4 countries, and Bulgaria present it during the TTE next Thursday for European Commission. So I think we have to work both ways, also the legal way, but also on a political level.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Dobrý deň, máte Slovak, Slovenská energetika, distribúcia. Chcel by som sa opýtať, ako by podľa vás mala vyzerať budúca
distribution, or how should the future design of support of renewables look like in order to achieve the 20% accumulative goal in the upcoming periods? When it comes to support to renewables, we are between two milestones. On one hand, we need to fulfill the percentage within the energy mix, and this has a significant impact on energy prices or additional costs. So from my perspective, we need to make such a decision and find such a compromise that would balance out the economic costs of involving renewables wouldn't have negative impact on the energy price. So we need to look for a balanced solution. Well, this is really a discussion or a debate, and I'm part of it in the Czech Republic when it comes to supporting the involvement or the renewables. I have liked quite a bit, not the whole of it, but Acer's answer to on this question regarding renewables. Acer was saying that gradually all the operational supports to renewables should be cut off that prove that are not competitive. Secondly, we believe that the renewables should take over the responsibility and accountability for deviation, and the question is if there are no 10%, 20%, but as said by Mr. Balk in Paris, there was a day when at one moment it was 85% of electrical energy was supplied from renewables. Then in a couple of hours it dropped to 10%. And he was praising themselves how good they managed it. So it's all due to backup sources. That was my opinion, but I didn't say a word. But with higher share of renewables, we believe that it's really appropriate to reassess the priority dispatch. When it comes to general support, I wouldn't focus only on renewables, because we as the Czech Republic have many investment projects ahead of us, such as development of nuclear energy, and we are quite impatiently waiting for the results of the discussion on design with the electricity market. What kind of form will we adopt with the full scarcity pricing, or what solution we will adopt in case that we won't find sufficient political courage to introduce energy-only market scarcity pricing and a certain form of support for capacities. We'll say that means we will have certain price for electricity in average 30% for megawatt. We need to supply the rest of the capital through capacities, and then we will make a decision, but this will not include only renewables, but all low carbon technologies, and we will need to think about whether the standard operational supports are the right tool to be used, because we are talking about resources that have quite high capex but low opex. So I believe this discussion and debate is ahead of us, and the Czech Republic wants to spend a lot of attention on the future design of the market, contemplating what is the most economically efficient and also environmentally friendly solution in order to introduce low carbon solutions, and it won't be a source of funds for banks. So we need to come up with an instrument that focuses on capex intensive resources, and CNT is the most is the best potential solution. So
European Union just coming, Maroš Šefčovič, welcome. Okay, so what we will be doing now, Mr. Maroš Šefčovič will deliver his keynote right away, so we will not give him any chance to breathe, debrief, because he came a bit late, but we are extremely happy, Maroš, that you came among this energy community. We went through all type of complicated questions. Several of them will be definitely asked. I put them down because some of them, Nord Stream 2 and others, will be asked since you were not here. But anyhow, welcome, and everybody is really looking forward to hear your statement about state of energy union, after which we will have discussion related to your statement. Still, questions may be directed towards panel, after which we will renew our energy through coffee at 11:30. English or Slovak, Hungarian or Czech.
Thank you
From
very much.
all of these languages.
Thank you very much. Despite the fact that my two aunts are Hungarian, I'm really not very strong in that language. I prepared my speech in Slovak, but I understand that it's better to speak in English because now nobody had the headphones. Okay, so I'll try to continue then in English. At first, thank you very much for waiting for me. I know the coffee is waiting and that you had very, very productive sessions since the early morning, but as you know, it's not that easy to get out of the Brussels these days. And I was doing my best. I was at the airport already at 5:30, but you know, a little bit colder temperatures and a little bit more heated security situation is cause of some delays in Brussels these days. Second thing I really would like to tell you is that I very much appreciate your kind invitation, because already this is the 9th conference on Central European energy situation. And I think that already by the fact that for the 9th time we are all meeting here in Bratislava just proves that this topic is very important for this region, and I'm very glad that Bratislava is becoming a place where these exchanges could take place. And I was just assisting a few weeks ago in Tatra Summit, where again we had possibilities to exchange the views and have a very good debate. If it comes to the topic of the discussion, the energy union in the European Union, at first I would like to say that despite the fact that we go through very turbulent times in Europe, where of course we devoted enormous political energy in the spring to focus our attention on macroeconomic challenges. Then of course dealing with the refugee crisis, and currently we are all grappling with how to best respond to all that security and terrorist threat across the Europe. I'm very glad to say that if it comes to the energy union, despite of all the challenges, I feel very strong support for this project, and it helps me to keep this project on time and according to the agreed schedule. And I have to say that this is a project where all member states feel that they can gain something from, where all member states feel that they can contribute something into, and therefore even when I travel across the European Union from the north to south, from the east to the west, from the UK to Bulgaria, from the Malta to Denmark, I can say that this project has a big support in the member states by all stakeholders, from the government through the national parliaments down to the civic society and the stakeholders. One of the reasons why I think this is the case is the fact that we try to have a look at the energy for the first time in this holistic perspective. Meaning that we didn't look at the energy in this traditional narrow sense, how to produce the energy, how to distribute it, and then how to consume it. But we clearly highlighted the fact that if we want to be successful in this energy transition, if we want to really put all these efforts on the new rails, we need to have a holistic approach. We have to combine our energy policy with our climate targets, that we have to clearly look at what we can do in a transport, how we can decarbonize this very important part of the economy, what we can do with energy efficiency, where every single member state in Europe has enormous potential to do better, or how to use better research and innovation and all the innovative and creative ideas we have in our labs, in our small, medium-sized companies, or even in big energy distributors who just decided to be more innovative and creative. Therefore, we took this 5 pillar as a basis for the Energy Union. Therefore, we put a project team of 14 commissioners working together to deliver on this project. And since the strategy was introduced, we really didn't spare any minute to work on the concrete proposals. We started already with the summer package, where we put on the table the new reform proposal for emission trading system for post-2020 period, where we also revised the energy labeling to make sure that we actually are keeping track with the developments and with increased efficiency of our electric appliances, and are able to give our consumers better information, and at the same time to give our producers better indicators what and how to produce the electric appliances in the future. We also wanted to send a strong message to the consumers that any transition which will be done in Europe must be centered around them, because we need their support, because they are European citizens, and without public support we cannot achieve any big project in Europe. And the last one, but I would say the most important one, was opening of the public consultation and discussion how to redesign electricity market in Europe. And this would be the landmark proposal, to which I will come back in a second, and which we want to present in the autumn of this year. If you look at more practical issues, what we achieved over the last 9 months. At first, of course, we've been working very much on the energy security issues. You all remember all that drama which was linked with the cancellation of the South Stream project and the energy concerns, especially in Southeast Europe and Western Balkans. I'm very glad to say that very quickly we managed to establish the so-called KESEG group, which is the abbreviation which stands for Better Connectivity for Central and Southeast Europe, and agreed in European terms in record time, meaning in a few months, what should be the top priority project for this region, to make sure that each of these countries would have access to at least 3 different sources of gas, so they do not have to rely on some kind of future mega project which would dominate the whole region. We've been working on a political level with Spain, Portugal and France to make sure that finally we conclude those lengthy discussions over the question how to interconnect better Iberian Peninsula with the rest of the European Union. And we've been, of course, working with our Nordic and Baltic countries to make sure that Baltic countries will have all preconditions so they can synchronize with European electricity grid and not as it was in the past. So a lot of practical things been happening over the last 9 months, and I'm very glad that we, by the practical measures, clearly demonstrated that if it comes to the energy union, it doesn't stop at the EU's border. That we are working very closely with our Western Balkan countries, with Ukraine, with North African country for which we created special platform for Mediterranean. And I think that was very important because it's quite clear that if we are talking about electricity, about renewable energies, this energy doesn't recognize the territorial border. And we just need to create the natural space where this exchange of energies could flow, can flourish, and can be useful and profitable for all of us. Last week on Wednesday, I presented for the first time the State of the Energy Union report. Why is it so important? Because I clearly felt that if we want to achieve the transition, energy and economic transition in Europe, we need to have precise time, clear marker in a political calendar of the European Union to discuss energy and climate and all the issues linked with that. Because if we look how we are working in Europe now, I think we got used to the fact that in the spring we are discussing mostly macroeconomics. And I think that such an important issue with such a long-term and important consequences for the economic competitiveness, for the transformation of our societies as energy and climate, they also deserve particular place in the European political calendar. Therefore, I suggested that in every autumn we will have the report on the state of the energy union in Europe. What have we achieved in the past? What are the priorities of today? How we are going to focus our work in the next year, and to make sure that we create the debate which would kind of go beyond the traditional energy circles, that we will discuss all issues linked with that. Therefore, on Thursday, I am going to present the report to the energy ministers. But I'll do the same with the ministers of transport, with the ministers of competitiveness who are responsible for research and innovation, and we are also going to talk to the ministers of social affairs, because if it comes to the transition, it would be only successful if it would be transition which would be fair. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock I will be presenting the State of the Energy Union also to the European Parliament, just to make sure that we are communicating on this issue as widely as possible, because it will be very important to have strong political support for this process. If you look at the state of the Energy Union for this year, we've been highlighting 4 key proposals. At first, which is very closely linked with the situation in Paris and with the COP21 conference, which will take place in a few days. And I think we all agree that what we need is a new beginning for Paris. New beginning from the point of view how we are going to tackle the climate change, but also new beginning for that city which showed so much resilience and courage over the last few days. And therefore we are using every single minute we have until this conference would start to make sure that we will achieve ambitious, globally binding agreement in Paris, which would also motivate other major economies in the world to contribute to the fight against climate change, at least in the comparable terms as Europe does. This morning I was listening on the BBC that this year is actually the warmest year ever recorded in the human history. 14 years of first 15 years of this century are in the same category. We see how the climate change is affecting the daily lives of all of us, be it through the big weather changes like storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, being it floods or droughts we have never seen before. And therefore, I think that the timing and the work must be concluded positively in Paris to make sure that we will finally address this issue with all the seriousness. And I think that Europe is very well positioned to take advantage from this process, because they are the first one, we are prime movers who started this energy transition. We have experience, we've been the first one who managed to decouple the economic growth from CO2 emissions, that we managed since 1990 to grow our economy by 46%, at the same time to lower our emissions by 23%. I think we should be proud that nobody else in the world did that. And I know how much our experience and our technologies are in demand in China, in India, in Africa, because globally we still need to supply electricity to 1.3 billion people, and we all know that we cannot do it in the old fossil way. We need to use modern technologies, new ways, just to simply guarantee the development for all communities in the world. At the same time, we've been highlighting in the State of the Energy Union our policy conclusions, what we believe should be done in our member states, and we did it on the basis of agreed country analysis which we've been debating very closely with each and single representatives of the government. So for the first time we have 28 country analyses which are part of the State of the Energy Union, and we can say that we have now common view how we see the energy situation, climate policies, plans for transport, agriculture in every single member state, and this should be good starting lineup for our common cooperation. What I would like to highlight as the next element, if it comes to the State of the Energy Union, is the fact that this time we also managed to complete the work on the projects of the common interest, so-called PCIs. And I'm sure that you noticed that this time these projects are much more aligned with the priorities of the Energy Union. And first, we went from more than 240 projects to 185. You would find more electricity than gas projects or oil projects in that list. You will find some projects linked with the smart grids, and this just shows how the transformation of our energy system in Europe is also reflected in the priorities which have been jointly developed by the Member States and the European Commission in the field of infrastructure. Of course, we need to do much better with this list than we did with the first one, because we cannot tolerate anymore that to build one interconnector in Europe, it takes us at average 12 years. Therefore, we introduced the projects of the PCIs, because we wanted to make sure that also government would feel it as their priority, to make sure that they would offer a much faster permitting, that they would offer much more swift decision making if it comes to this project, so we can actually shorten that whole period from 12 to 3 to 4 years, because only in that case we would be able to respond to all that dynamism which we see in the changing energy landscape in Europe. I'm very glad that Visegrad 4 countries are very well covered by this PCI list. Mostly the projects are there, if it comes to gas, to make sure that north-south interconnection it's much stronger than before, that we are actually putting in place this link between LNGs in the Poland with the LNGs in Mediterranean and with the prospective LNG in Croatia. I'm also very glad that we are covering lots of work and ground if it comes to the electricity interconnection, so we can continue with a positive example of electricity market coupling, that we can deal much more efficiently with the issue of the loop flows coming from Germany, and actually creating something which is very solid, much better interconnected than before. And if you allow me to conclude on the way forward, because I think that will be also very important for your discussion. I would like to see 2016 as a year of delivery for the Energy Union. It means that our ambition in the European Commission is to put on the table 90% of what we promised we will do under the Energy Union umbrella. And we want to do it in 3 big packages. The first one should be presented already in February. It would be focused on the security of supply, where we would like to revise the directive on gas, where we want to tackle transparency of intergovernmental agreements, so we can avoid the negative experience from the past, where very often intergovernmental agreements have been signed, and only later on we all concluded that they've been in the breach of the European law, and you know how difficult it is to change the agreements which I signed, approved, and ratified. We want to present new LNG strategy, because we see how LNG became new super global commodity with very dynamic pricing, with very competitive position on the market. And when I talked to Australian minister, he told me that in 2017 Australia has an ambition to be #1 LNG exporter, that they would export more LNG than Qatar. When I was in the United States, they told me they have already signed export concessions for 100 billion cubic meters of LNG for the next year. We have new discoveries of almost 3,000 billion cubic meters in Eastern Mediterranean between Egypt, Cyprus, and Israel. And therefore, I think that Europe should be part of that process and that we should open our energy mix in Europe also to the imports from LNGs, simply to diversify, to have more competition on the market and to benefit from this new phenomenon which is so much affecting the not only global energy prices but overall competitiveness of the industry around the world. Part of that package would be also strategy on heating and cooling, because there we are still in Europe spending more than 40% of all the energy. And if you imagine that 40% of all the energy we consume in Europe goes for heating and cooling of our buildings, I think we all agree that we definitely could do better, and we have already technological solutions how to achieve that. In the summer, we want to present second package, which would be very much built around what I believe will be positive outcome in Paris, meaning it would be focused on so-called non-ETS sector, like transport, like agriculture, like efficiency in the buildings. We will have to propose for every single member state one figure, one percentage, and this would be the percentage by which every member state would have to decrease the greenhouse gas emissions from these three sectors. And I know how challenging it would be. I know that each country has its own specificities, and I learned a lot in the course of my tour. So now I am expert on the carbon density of milk, because this is how it was explained to me in Ireland. I learned all about biomass when I was in Baltic countries or Sweden, and I know all about transport specificities if it comes to the countries which are very much affected by the road transit challenge. But we will try to measure and present the fair proposal, which then of course will be discussed by the member states and the European Parliament. And the third package will come, as I was already referring to, in the autumn. That will be a package built around electricity. How to redesign market with electricity, how to integrate better renewables, how to deal with the issues of subsidies, how to deal with so much needed and expected regional cooperation, how to find all the challenges which are currently on the electricity market. We want to do it in a combination with the revision of the directive on renewables and with a proposal how to enhance some of the powers of agency of European Agency for the Cooperation of European Regulators, ACER, because there we see lots of opportunities for improving, harmonizing the methodology of our regulators, for applying the same network codes, and for really removing a lot of administrative obstacles. So that's the agenda for the next year. Why we are pressing so much? Because we know that negotiations on all of these proposals would be extremely difficult and challenging. And I know that all member states would like to see what is on the table. What is the result of the Paris? What are the proposals coming from the European Commission before they start to negotiate on all these legislative proposals? So we would have 2017, 2018, and part of 2019 to actually transform these proposals into the valid legislation. And there is one more reason. And the reason, that would be my request, which I'm going to present on Thursday to the Ministers of Energy of the European Union. And that request would be, please do not delay anymore the work on the national energy and climate plans. We would like to kindly ask you to start work on draft of these plans already in 2017. Because I think that each member state needs to have this internal discussion, but also public debate, and to have some kind of strategic view where we would like to see their countries by 2030. What should be the energy mix? How we want to contribute to these long-term goals? How we want to achieve them? And we are proposing the methodology, we are proposing the structure, because I think that national energy and climate plans should be compatible, should be comparable, so we could see how we are progressing together. So that would be my plea on Thursday, and one of my arguments would be that until today only 1/3 of the member states have plans which would be seen and assessed as a long-term. And I hear from the investors, and I know many of you are present here today, that what we need is regulatory stability. What we need is to see where the European Union and each member state wants to go. What are the plans between now and 2030? And I think we need to send the signal so we can get the necessary investment into the energy sector of the European Union. And if you allow me to conclude on the sensitive topic, because I understood it was quite well covered here by the panelists, but also by the President of the Slovak Republic, Mr. Kiska. That's the issue of Nord Stream. Of course, it's a project which attracts a lot of attention. And I have to say that it's another stream in the string of streams we've been discussing since the beginning of the year. First cancellation of the South Stream, then proposal for Greek Stream, Turkish Stream. Now we have the Nord Stream, and now we see that we have a commercial decision by very strong, also Western European companies to form this consortium. And of course, with this project, there are a lot of issues which have to be covered. The regulatory one, because we made it very clear that in Europe we are not only community of values, but also community of law. And the EU law will have to be fully applied in the project of such a magnitude. Second issues are, of course, issues linked with the energy security, where it's not only the European Commission, but I have also unanimous decision by the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, who clearly stated in the Council conclusions from June and July of this year, where they highlighted the importance of the preservation of the transit route through Ukraine. And let's look at what are the results over the last year or two. Ukraine proven, despite very difficult circumstances, that it could be, and it was, a reliable partner for transiting the Russian gas to Europe. Third question is the capacity. Currently, the transport capacities for Russian gas to Europe are used only at 50%. So if all that projects, as they've been proposed, would be really implemented, as we see it, the capacities which would be built would be excessive even to the highest expectations we in the European Commission have for overall consumption of gas for 2030, which is between 380 to 450 billion cubic meters. And therefore, we are very clearly of the opinion that if it comes among the priorities of the European Union, we have to look for the ways how to rebalance our energy supplies, how to diversify our suppliers, how to diversify the routes, and how to make sure that whatever happens, we would have supplies in Europe which would be coming in a secure way, which will be coming without any strings attached, and which would be coming at a fair, affordable price. Because as the biggest energy importer in the world, I believe we deserve such a treatment. If you allow me, you've been very kind with all of us and with me that you waited until my introductory remarks. I very much appreciate that. I once again would like to apologize for a little bit later arrival. I would like to thank you for your attention, and if you still have some time for the question, I'll be very happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Come back, Thank you very much for this truly inspirational keynote by Vice President of European Commission. who is still full of energy, even if he woke up so early and came from capital city of European Union, which is under special circumstances these days due to security issues. Questions, still we have some time before coffee break, so if any of you would like to address question now, and surely you can repeat your Ukrainian question and enlarge it from Visegrad up to European Union. Please. Microphone.
My name is Mikhail Gochar. I am from Ukraine, Strategy 21, non-governmental think tank. Thank you so much, Mr. Euro Commissioner, for your strong position against Nord Stream 2. I asked our panelists concerning concrete steps, not only right solutions, but concrete steps, in your case from the level of European Commission. In the hypothetical scenario when Gazprom and group of Western European countries will continue realization of this project, Nord Stream 2. What are possible concrete steps? And the other question is concerning energy community treaty and future of energy community. What is your personal position concerning idea of involvement of some countries which are members of energy community and which have association agreement, for example, Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia too, concerning involvement of these countries into framework of energy union? I think that it's right idea because when energy community was established by the EU, please take in consideration, it was initiated by the EU in 2005. It was very ambitious idea to provide energy solidarity. But now we see that energy community has many weaknesses. What is future from your point of view? And last position, thank you so much for real energy solidarity with my country, which is under Russian aggression, frankly speaking. Many thanks, and we hope on continuation of energy cooperation in the framework of Visegrad plus Ukraine, and the support of European Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead. It should work.
Funguje to teraz? Takže teraz by to malo fungovať výborne. Ďakujem veľmi pekne, ďakujem za technickú pomoc. Thank you very much for the question. Concerning the concrete steps, of course, if it comes to the regulatory issues, as you can imagine, this is something which is requiring very solid expertise and I would say very detailed discussion of the matter. Therefore, we from the Commission proposed to the German regulator, Bundesnetzagentur, to have the talks on senior expert level just to look at the whole complex, the whole host of issues linked with the regulatory framework which is established in the European Union and which clearly covers I would say all aspects of the projects like the Nord Stream. So the meeting should take place this week. I think it would be very important to see if we see the situation with the same or through the same eyes, and if we have the convergence of views, and then of course if it comes to the regulatory debate, we'll take it from that first meeting further. For Ukraine, I think what is very, very important is that the Ukraine has to continue its reform drive. You know that we've been working with Ukraine very closely to adopt the law which is fully compatible with the EU legislation, like the third package and this new gas law in Ukraine entered into force on the 1st of October. Now, of course, what will be very important would be the issue of implementation. And I know that a lot of very difficult measures have been taken, like the liberalization of the prices, like the plans for restructuring of these big energy companies like Naftogaz, unbundling, and all the difficult steps we have to undertake in the European Union. I believe that the good reform process, consolidation of the overall situation, especially in energy sector and gas sector in Ukraine, would also pave the way for more investments coming in that sector. When we've been negotiating with Ukrainian and Russian partners the package for this heating season for this winter, it was quite clear that we need to work very closely with international financial institutions, and we spent, I think, almost the whole summer talking to European Bank for Reconstruction and Consolidation, to the World Bank, to the International Monetary Fund, to the European Investment Bank, to actually create the package which would help this financial mobilization for the necessary gas purchases, but at the same time which would support the necessary reform, renovations, refurbishments in the gas systems in Ukraine. And I think that Ukraine has one very important asset which could become strategic asset if everything is done in the right way. And this is Ukrainian underground gas storage, which is of huge scale, which is very close to the EU borders, and which in the future, I believe, can be used as an asset with a strong potential to improve further the energy security of Europe. So I think that we have to work very concretely on how to make sure that everything will go fine this winter, how to make sure that all the reforms and the new laws which have been adopted are properly implemented, how to create conditions that necessary investment from strategic investors would make it to the Ukraine, to highlight the strategic importance and potential of Ukrainian transit, but also storage sector. If it comes to the energy community, we very much appreciate the work of the Secretariat of the Energy Community, which is in Vienna. I think we just had quite successful Western Balkan Summit where I participated on this energy and climate part, and I think the work of energy community was very much appreciated. It's quite clear that even that Secretariat is getting overstretched, therefore we managed to mobilize additional financial resources to increase the staff and to create better work conditions for the people working for the Energy Secretariat. And if it comes to the Energy Union, I already said it several times, and I would repeat it here. For me, the energy community countries are part of the Energy Union, because the energy doesn't stop at the borders. We cannot dissociate the energy security in Europe when we would have some huge troubles in Western Balkans, in Ukraine, or in Moldova. We are working very closely with Georgia on making sure that by 2020, through the Southern Gas Corridor, we would have the first Caspian gas in Europe. First from Azerbaijan, later on maybe from Turkmenistan as well. And therefore I see that the cooperation with energy community countries is very important, and we are kind of trying to match the level of the ambition of this country, their readiness to progress, to move with our readiness to definitely be the good partner and be supporter and do at least the same level of ambition as we see from our partners. So I think that this cooperation will only be strengthened in the future, and I'm very glad that if it comes to that list of the PCI, Project of the Common Interest, I was just referring to, it's very much covering also cooperation with our neighboring countries. Some of them are on the list, some of them are on another list, which is a list for our neighbors. But the fact is that when we look at the infrastructure in Europe, We are already taking into account the needs and necessities which must be prepared and which must be implemented not only for the EU but also for energy community countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next questions, comments from the audience. Okay, please, microphone over there. And then there. You can address your questions to Vice President Šefčovič or any other panelists because we were still open for that.
Good morning. My name is Lukáš Pataky. I work for Schneider Electric as energy consultant, and we are consulting companies with huge spend, over 1 billion euros for their energy needs. And my question goes to Mr. Šefčovič. Thank you very much for coming. And we are following what's going to happen with the European Energy Union and how it's going to affect the coupling of the prices in Europe, how the basically gas prices and power prices might get more even. However, when we look at the bill of our clients, we see that only 40% of the cost is basically the commodity itself, and we see like 60% comes with the distribution network charges. And now we see huge gaps between countries in Europe, especially let's say Germany, France, and then Eastern Europe, where some countries try to promote huge consumers of energy with big, let's say, discounts on these costs, and some countries do not. And I would like to know whether the European Union is aware of this issue and whether the European Energy Union will have some maybe guideline how the countries can give benefits to these consumers in the non-commodity part of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, the microphone over there. We can collect one or two more questions.
Ešte raz, ja som Filip Urban z Asociácie pre využitie obnoviteľných alternatívnych zdrojov. Pán Šefčovič, vy, dokiaľ ste prišli, ja som dal otázku pánom úradníkom z druhých krajín ohľadom, ako zabezpečujú energetickú efektívnosť. Ja mám na vás otázky dve. Ako si viete predstaviť harmonizáciu energetickej efektívnosti a zároveň zabezpečenie energetickej bezpečnosti produkcie energonosičov do strednej Európy alebo Európy a hlavne ju harmonizáciu, tieto dva, nazveme to protipóly. A druhá vec, ako si viete predstaviť investičný kapitál napríklad z Čínskej ľudovej republiky, ako by vedeli etablovať svoj kapitál na zelený energetický trh v Európe?
Okay, so anybody else? Okay, with this we are closing discussion. Maroš, Šefčovič, both questions targeted to you.
Thank you very much. I really have to deserve that coffee. I see.
Sure.
But no, thank you very much. Concerning the prices in the EU, you're absolutely right. We are currently in Europe in a kind of a paradox. When you talk to the energy generation companies, so they will tell you that we have the wholesale prices in Europe so low that it's not worth investing in a power generation in Europe. And I would say that's kind of a consensual view if you talk to the energy sector. At the same time, if you talk to the consumers, be it households or be it industry, so you again, I would say you would have a unanimous view that the end user prices are very high. And if we compare it with the prices in the States, who are of course our very important partner, but if it comes to the economic terms also a big competitor, then of course you see that the price differential, if it comes to gas and electricity, is between 2 to 4 times. So of course the difference is very huge. Of course, to the credit of the European companies and industry, we can say that we are twice as energy efficient as our American partners in industry. But still, the price differential in energy is very important. So what we could do and what we should do here. Of course, we have seen that over the last years, we've been kind of collecting different anomalies in our energy system. And one of the anomalies is also the fact which I described, very low wholesale price, very big end user price. And of course we have to look what is in between. And in between, as you said, depending of course from the concrete situation in the concrete member states, but you really have I would say big parts of the price which could be up to 60% of distribution costs, local fees, local taxes, different kind of payments to cover subsidies, and let's be honest here, to all modes of energy production. These are not only renewables, they are all different modes of energy productions and different fuels. So at first I think what we need to do is to finally complete the building of the real internal energy market, where the energies could really flow freely among our member states, where they will not be hampered by the lack of infrastructure or by the different administrative barriers which have been developed over the years by national regulators. So we need to create the real legal framework for the free flows of the energies in Europe, and this is what we will try to do in the course of the next year with these different concrete legislative proposals I was referring to a minute ago. Then another issue is that we also have to have a much more harmonized look on state aid. We introduced state aid guidelines for renewables, and we will have to revise it at latest by 1918. And I think we have to learn the lesson, study the topic very carefully, because what we have seen over the last few years, we have seen that almost each member state went in a little bit different way how to support or renewables or other sources of the energy. And now we are having very similar developments in at least 11 of our member states, which are going about the same way in so-called capacity markets or capacity mechanism. For those who don't know, capacity mechanisms are kind of guaranteed fees or payments to the energy companies to maintain the production potential, let's call it like that. And we are going in this way, which makes it very different from the country to the country, which makes very difficult the trading of the energies, and which makes the price structure in every member state totally distinct from their neighbors. And therefore, we also accept this, I would say, regulatory approach. We also would like to use more the tool of transparency. So we, on the last Wednesday, when we adopted this package of the State of the Energy Union, we also adopted the rules for the new methodology for the Eurostat, which now on the biannual basis would analyze and present statistically correct overview of price structure in every member state. What is energy related, what is non-energy related, what should be there, what should be maybe covered by other parts of the national budget. Let's compare how our prices are structured and formed in our member states, so we can really compare, we can debate, and we also can have, I would say, the national discussions about how the prices in the energy sector are formed, why they are so high, what are the reasons, what are the causes, and how we can address this challenge. So I would say the combination of completion of internal energy market, improvement of regulatory framework, and more transparency in how our prices are structured. If it comes to the, if you allow me to switch in Slovak now, pokiaľ ide o energetickú efektívnosť, myslím si, že
I believe that during the preparation of the strategy of Energy Union, it was quite evident that energy efficiency totally deserves very new perspective. And that's why we emphasize, for what we've heard for a long time, the energy that is not consumed is the cheapest energy, and the principle of energy efficiency as the first source of energy must be emphasized, so that every single project must be taken into account, and we must think how we could contribute in our planning activities if we evaluate and analyze and assess the contribution brought in by energy efficiency. In the next year, this topic is going to be tackled by a number of proposals that we want to present. I've mentioned the strategy on cooling and heating of buildings. In summer, we shall review the guideline of energy efficiency of buildings, and already in Wednesday we're going to negotiate in Luxembourg in the European Investment Bank, where we agreed that one part of funds that are going to be generated through the Juncker's investment package should be directed or targeted exactly into the sphere of energy efficiency and energy efficiency of buildings in particular. By the next year, we'd like to prepare the new financial tool that should be titled in Smart Financing for Smart Buildings, where we'd like to provide the possibility to those mayors or municipalities or entrepreneurs who would like to get engaged, get tightly involved in this sphere, to have much better assistance, much better support, not just when it comes to possible funding, but also when it comes to looking for private investors or tackling quite complicated legal issues related to these sorts of projects, mainly if we are moving from public buildings to residential sector, residential housing as such. So I believe that this trend is quite clear, and to a great degree it's going to depend on how the whole energy sector is going to deal with this. And I can see that even the large energy companies in Western Europe, they don't want to sell energy only, but they also want to sell services in energy. Let me just give you one example. One large energy concern, a big German company, invested into a startup that basically enables to provide exact information for every single building in a city and inform the owner of that building whether it is worth to implement photovoltaic panels on the roof or not. If it's not profitable, the application suggests another energy efficient tool or measure. And I believe this is a business model that a number of energy companies will have to apply in the future, because besides energy itself, they will be expected to provide energy-related services. And when it comes to investment in this area, Europe is not preventing anyone from joining. And I'm aware that there were some negotiations between the EU and China, how China could invest either directly into Juncker's investment package or into project which will be implemented within the European framework. Thank you very much for your attention.
S týmto by som chcel ukončiť.
And with those comments, I would like to close this morning session, even though we needed to improvise a bit. I do believe that the order of the presentations and the fact that we have started with the speech of the President of the Slovak Republic, and we closed the morning session with the speech of an address of the Vice President of the European Commission, Mr. Šefčovič, that we framed it very well. Let me thank to all the panelists, András, Aradszki, Lenka, Kovačovská, Rastislav, Chovanec, and of course Maroš, Šefčovič for their presentations. We are using the solar energy and caffeine that is outside in the lobby.